earlier this morning, we're really fortunate to have an amazing board of directors who represent some of the most influential organizations in the games industry and social impact sector. Many of our board members have been with us for a long time, and I'm especially honored to welcome two of these esteemed and longtime supporters of Games for Change. Board member Alan Lewis, who is the head of global corporate communications at Take-Two Interactive. He's been a little busy with a new game coming out soon, we hope, maybe. With Stan Pierre-Louis, who is the president of CEO of the Entertainment Software Association. They're gonna have a conversation about the importance of investing in the next generation of creators, from expanding access to STEAM education and scholarships to creating pathways for tomorrow's game developers. So please join me in welcoming Stan and Alan. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. What a panel to follow. Constance brought down the house. I thought that was phenomenal.
She did. We were using a dictionary and a thesaurus back there, trying to figure out some of that.
If you've ever worked with her, she is phenomenal. But we're so excited to be here. Stan Pierre-Louis with the Entertainment Software Association. We serve as the voice and advocate for the U.S. video game industry. I could not be more delighted than to be here on stage with Alan Lewis, a legend in the communications space in the industry. He's been in the industry for over 30 years. I think you were formed, you joined the industry when ESA was formed. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And since 2008 has been the head of corporate communications at Take-Two. More importantly, for purposes of this conversation, Alan is the chair of Take-Two's Charitable Giving Committee, which oversees their initiatives on the philanthropy and community engagement front. So, Alan, it's a pleasure to be on the stage here with you at Games for Change.
Thank you, Stan. It's great to be here, and that was almost like hearing my own eulogy. I've been a long-time board member of Games for Change along with Stan, and I've watched these festivals grow over the years and seeing the cohort grow and become more diversified. And I just want to thank everybody for coming and participating in this, and sharing in the important dialogues that we're all having and the learnings that we have available to us over the next few days. So great to be here.
Fantastic. So this industry is known for its growth, its creativity, but we're also going through some challenging times as an industry. And I wondered how you would share how Take-Two thinks about ensuring that the next generation of game makers has an opportunity to join this pipeline and become the great game makers and storytellers.
Well, I think it's certainly no secret that our industry has faced some challenges, in particular over the last several years, but the one constant is that there is the need for creators, for developers, for storytellers, and now more than ever, art is more important. Art is a form of reflection, it's a form of escape. It holds up a mirror to society. It allows communities to gather together and share in those experiences. And while technological advances are allowing game development to change, it will never replace the human creative process. Hopefully, all of these tools and technologies are just that. It allows the creative teams to have a bigger canvas on which to paint, and it allows people to realize their creative vision. As Stan so eloquently put early on, yes, I've been in the industry over 30 years. I'd like to tell you I was 5 years old when that started, but alas, no, and I have the gray hairs to prove it. But 30 years ago, if someone said to me that millions of people would be watching people play games around the world, or you would be able to create your own content while playing, to me that would have seemed like something out of Star Trek, that it really isn't attainable. And yet fast forward, and we're able to do that. And the notion of we've elevated from two people sitting on a couch playing to being able to play with people all around the world and build these global communities. And people often ask me, what do I think are the biggest advances in the industry that no one saw coming? And to me, it's the notion of the curated global play that people from all over the world, all different backgrounds, would come together and have these shared experiences. And I think that speaks volumes about the power of our industry. As such, Stan, you mentioned about giving back. Our company, we have 3 core pillars. We aspire to be the most efficient, the most creative, and the most innovative company. And our culture is one that is built on kindness and respect and collaboration. And we have over 15,000 colleagues around the world at our organization. And as much as we all love working for the organization and love being in the industry, none of us are going to be here forever. So there lies the inherent importance of how do we cultivate and nurture the next generation of creators. And our philosophy around that has always been that there is this continuum of education. And we support a variety of programs ranging from elementary school through graduate school, that everything from After School All-Stars, Girls Make Games, Beyond Code, formerly Black Girls Code, the School of Interactive Arts, Gay Gaming Professionals, and others, just to name a few. And for us, philanthropy and leaning into this effort is not just writing a check. It's also, more importantly, for us to give up our time and our experience. My colleagues, and some of whom are here today, we love volunteering and we love giving back. And what does that look like? Well, it looks like modeling success. It looks like bringing in groups of students who maybe have never sat in a professional setting ever before, and they're actually getting to talk to people and learning about their professional journeys. And the hope is that we can light a spark. And maybe there's one kid whose trajectory we've helped change or influence. And again, 30 years ago, there were not 400 plus colleges around the United States that offered degrees in game design. You know, if you 40 years ago said to your parents and loved ones, I want to go to school and be a video game designer, you might as well tell them, I want to go chase windmills and slay dragons. It didn't seem attainable. And for many of our team members that are in development who volunteer and give back and want to pay it forward, it's because many of them didn't have straight pathways into the industry. A lot of us, myself included, sort of fell into the industry. So whatever we can do to reduce friction and inspire continued learning and exposure and access, those are really the most important things we can do at the base level to cultivate the next generation of creators.
How does that decision making look like at Take-Two? Is it top down? You sit down with Strauss and you say, here are the 5 organizations we're giving to, or what's that look like on a day-to-day basis within the company?
I would say, first of all, I wouldn't say there's the structure where it's mandated. I would say it is an expectation and one that leads by example. Our CEO, Strauss Zelnick, is known for leaning into both philanthropy and mentoring. He is an avid mentor, and it's something that he believes in very strongly. And in terms of helping to set the culture of the company, it really is top down. It's we work hard, but we want to give back, we want to be good citizens, and how do we lean into that? We have a charitable committee comprised of myself, head of legal, HR, finance, and when we're looking through the lens of organizations to support, we're looking for impact. Where can our dollars and our time and our effort do the most good? Where can our colleagues lean into and support these programs that will make a difference? And very often when we're supporting organizations, you really will not see us do a press release about this partnership or this sponsorship. You will not see naming conventions where we care that a scholarship is named the Take-Two Scholarship or the Take-Two program. For us, it's where can we do the most good? That is the imperative in the mission, and we never want our efforts to dwarf that of the organizations that we're supporting.
So it seems like it can be employee-led in many ways, and when you mentioned giving back, I think that also means spending time during the work hours to mentor and to do some of those things.
Absolutely, and at our company, we actually have paid volunteer days as part of our structure at the organization. We also have a giving platform where we match employee donations. And then throughout Take-Two and our labels Rockstar, 2K, and Zynga, we have employee resource groups ranging from enthusiast to cultural. And with that, each of those groups are giving back to their own communities. So when I have a volunteer opportunity, I'm reaching out to the head of those ERGs, our heads of community and our labels and our development teams to try to find the best people to match up with these organizations and the youth that are involved. And it has just been incredible. And we don't just solely work with educational organizations. So here in New York, we partner with what I would call, traditional philanthropic programs. So we've been a long-time supporter of Covenant House. I know we have some representatives here. We support City Harvest, God's Love We Deliver, the Central Park Conservancy. There's a lot that we do that is not directly education-based, but it is about quality of life. It is about enhancing the areas in which we operate, and we do that around the world. All of our offices find ways also to give back, whether it's environmental or otherwise.
You mentioned technology in one of your earlier responses, and that brought to mind a subject that hasn't been the main focus of any talk is AI. We have to say AI, so I've won the AI bingo. With students coming out today, they're looking at where the industry is going, a lot of the talk about AI. And if you've got someone thinking about getting out industry but saying, with the growth of AI and vibe coding, is it really worth coming into this industry at this time? What do you say to that student?
I mean, I certainly would understand trepidation and the notion that often we see, in aspects of the media and otherwise, that artificial intelligence is supplanting, humans' ability to work. And I think we look at AI, and our organization has been using AI for years in our games. If you're playing NBA 2K and you're playing against the computer, well, guess what? That's part of that is AI, and it has been. We view all technology as a tool. And the reality is if you work in a technology-based industry, which is ours, we reside at that intersection of technology and creativity, you should always be looking to improve your toolbox of what you're working with and how you're growing. So if we were in Manhattan 100 years ago, you might be seeing still some horse and buggies, but the reality is those horse and buggy drivers probably were learning how to drive an automobile pretty quickly because they knew that the horse and buggy wasn't going to work anymore. So the notion I would have to anybody getting into this industry is that you should always be adding to your toolbox. There's always going to be new tools and technologies, creative ways to tell stories, and then it's what would I do with my time if I could expedite this? So I was thinking on the train ride in this morning that I barely write anymore. How many of you, when you go to write something, your penmanship looks horrible because right? And I used to have fairly nice penmanship. I was an English major. I took pride in writing. I did not have a feathered quill. I always wanted one, but I didn't think I could pull off the feathered quill. But now we put our calendar items in our phones, and we're typing things and doing that. So the amount of time it would take me to handwrite things on a calendar, in a fraction of that time, I can put it in my phone. So the question really becomes about what do tools allow you to do from a time management and creative standpoint? So going back to what I would say to students is do not fear technology. You are unique. Your ability to tell stories is unique. I also tell students too, you can't be a creative person if you're sitting in front of a screen 24/7. You need to go feel the sun on your face, go look at architecture, go to a museum, go see a film, read a book, listen to music, have interpersonal relationships. Do something that gives you life experiences that informs your art. And a lot of the programs that we support, especially in elementary and middle school, I don't believe that all of those students are going to ultimately end up with careers in our industry. But here's a hope. The hope is we've helped light a spark for an insatiable capacity to want to learn, that they will continue to study, they will continue to develop new skills, and ultimately they will find their path. But maybe being exposed to technology, to being exposed to being creative, will inspire them to want to do other things. And that's really the most important thing we can do, is is to introduce the concepts, provide the tools, the exposure, the awareness, and then ultimately each person finds their own pathway.
As we think about what anyone can do, obviously Take-Two, very successful corporation. There are other organizations that maybe don't have a Grand Theft Auto coming out on November 19th.
Thank
you. Near you.
Thank you.
My obligation as the moderator of this fireside chat. What can different organizations do to sustain an environment where new storytellers and new game developers can be in there? How can they have impact even without the resources of a Take-Two?
I mean, I think number one, to be clear, I don't think what we do is necessarily unique. I think what we do is we're consistent in our passion and our execution about it and seeking out how we can grow the relationships and the impact we have, and also work with new and emerging organizations. So whether, writing the check, I always say, and every time I say it, I know I can hear the people in my finance department fall out of their seats. I always say writing the check is the easy part, and that it's the intent behind the check that's important. But more importantly, and for smaller organizations, or even you individuals, what can I do? Can you spend 20 minutes with somebody in high school or college and look at their portfolio? Can you share your career path? Can you look at a resume? Can you email a contact of somebody you know at a university or an organization to help open a door, an introduction? Think about how you arrived at the destination you're at now. Who opened a door for you? Who made an introduction? How can you pay it forward? And what I am always surprised about is when I'm dealing with a partner and they say, well, thank you for getting back to, usually we send a proposal, we don't hear back for 2 or 3 weeks. I get back within 2 or 3 hours, or if not, the next day. Be engaged. Take the 2 minutes, make a phone call, send an email. But I promise each of you, if you take the time and think about how to invest in another human being starting out in their careers and their lives, your life will be better for it and change too. It is not the main reason why you should do it, but the byproduct and the giving back of that. And I say frequently, the philanthropy hat is the hat I wear least often in our organization. It is the one that makes me feel the best. And people also in organizations, most people like giving back. And when a company says, here are ways you can volunteer, here are ways you can do this, it takes away a lot of the heavy lifting for the individual to say, well, I live in my community. Do I belong to a social group or a religious organization that maybe sets up volunteer days and things like that? But when a company does it, it also benefits your culture, it benefits your people, and ultimately, that's how you sustain culture. And that's how you come to work with a smile on your face and you really enjoy being with your colleagues. And it's the part of the job that doesn't feel like a job.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to share?
So I had a question for you.
Wow,
we don't get to ask Neil.
Flipping it.
Excuse me, let me change my... Stan, from where you sit and talking with government officials about the impact of our industry beyond the dollars, beyond the job creation, how do you think some of the programs that we're talking about today, how does that resonate with government? Is it something that they're interested in as well?
Sure. So for those of you who aren't totally clear on everything ESA does, we spend a lot of time with policymakers at the federal, state, and local level. We do a little bit of international work, and we spend time with the media, and we really try to share the story of our industry. So part of that is ensuring that they understand fully what we do. I was at the Mixer last night, and someone was mentioning how sometimes talking about games, the policymaker they're talking to may not fully realize who plays. We put out a study every year called the Essential Facts about the video game industry. This year, more than people play than ever. More than 212 million Americans. That's 2/3 of Americans are playing video games. So we share that information, but we also want to make sure we're sharing the power of play and the impact that games have. And so that's one of the great things about Games for Change Festival. We get all kinds of great stories about the impact of play. We also get it from what our member companies do. So, last year we talked about accessibility and how many companies are looking to increase access to games and information about accessibility within games. You've also seen adaptive play devices making games more accessible. We also look at areas that may be of interest to policymakers and work that our member companies are doing. So we put out a report last year called Veterans in Video Games, because the impact video games have on service members who become veterans is enormous. When they're in the theater of war, there's very little contact they have with their family and their friends outside of that theater, and video games end up being a way for them to connect. When they leave that theater of war and come home, all of a sudden they don't have those connections, and so there are groups that ensure that veterans can be together online. And so we released that report and had a program on Capitol Hill with veterans from the video game industry, both game makers and people in the medical field, just talking about the impact games can have. And we also talk about how video games are used in health and great health outcomes and stroke victim therapy, all those things. So we're able to really showcase that games are fun, they are an economic engine, but they're also really important for us as a culture, and they really benefit us socially and in many, many other ways. So the work that you guys do at Take-Two and what you all do in this room is critically important to our advocacy, because we get to showcase and highlight that to people who are making very important decisions for our industry. So I think that's a great place to stop. We really stopped on kinship, so we tied it back to Constance's talk, her amazing talk, and her grid. The one slide, the one part that I understood, all the formulas, it was way above my head. But Alan, such a pleasure to be on stage with you. Thank you for your indulgence, and we look forward to seeing you throughout this festival.